welcome to the Art of Being Human. We're going to continue with talking about PTSD today, but remember some of the things that I've told you from last time. If you have symptoms, there's a reason for it. There's no such thing as a symptom without a cause. Now, the cause may be varied. It may be that you've gone through something and you've been abused, or something that's happened to you that's caused you trauma. And when you have trauma, if a child has trauma, their emotional development can stop at that point because their brain is so fixed on the trauma, they don't move forward. And the same is true for an adult. Their emotional intensity stops at that point. You know, if a marriage is in trouble, in a good marriage, the couple supports each other and they both grow. They continue to grow intellectually, emotionally, socially, in their careers. They continue to grow. They've got the support of another person, and that other person has the support of them. But as soon as the marriage is in trouble, the growth stops, because what happens is that all of the energy that would go into the growth now goes into trying to save and maintain the relationship. And so the growth stops, and it's on the energy is used for the purpose of trying to spare it. Spare what you've got. Don't lose what you've got. So in order to have continual growth and development of a person, they have to be free to grow. They have to be secure enough to grow. If you have trauma in your life, or your child has trauma in their life, or you had trauma growing up, it's a terrible thing in terms of your own emotional development. It can stop, it can be damaged, and what you are doing is you are trying to just make your life normal as you can, even though your life may not be normal, but you're trying to make it so. So therefore, a lot of the symptoms that you have are symptoms that you have because you're expressing the fear and the thing that is built up within you as a result of the trauma that you suffered. Now, a lot of times people suffer trauma and they forget it. They forget a good part of it, sometimes all of it. It has been forgotten. The brain will force you to forget things that are horrible that have happened to you. You may remember some things, but you don't remember all of the things. And what happens in therapy, in order to get rid of your symptoms that are caused by that trauma that has been not dealt with, what you have to do is get that trauma revealed, or at least part of it, so you can deal with it. And then when it's dealt with, it doesn't have to haunt you anymore. You can still remember parts of it, but you don't remember it and have it paralyze you with fear. If you've had a lot of things happen to you and you've been traumatized and you've forgotten them, which your brain did, it's not anything that's anybody's fault, it's just the way that the brain works. Then you get other symptoms, because it's also the brain is also trying to tell you something's wrong. What kind of symptoms do you get? Well, you're going to get depression, fear, anxiety, panic, phobias, all of those things that you can get. That's why I say there's no such thing as some kind of a symptom without a cause. So at any rate, some people can't remember why they're afraid, but you can be afraid because of things that have happened to you in the past that you don't remember. Others have had experiences and they don't become fearful, because what causes fear in one person may not cause fear in another. And certain styles of thinking may contribute to PTSD. For an example, if you are dealing with a traumatic event for you, which may not be a traumatic event for somebody else, then you're going to end up with the PTSD symptoms as you try to forget, or as you try to handle it, but you find you can't handle it. And yet at the same time, somebody else may say, oh, yeah, I went through that, I came out of it okay. People are individual in the way that they handle their trauma, and we have to realize that. So what is bad for one person may not be bad for another. Anxiety-prone people will suffer more PTSD than people who are not so anxiety prone. Now I'm going to read you a sentence and see, you can think about how you react to the sentence. The sentence is this: the doctor examined little Emma's growth. That's just a sentence. This was an experiment that was done on some people. The doctor examined little Emma's growth. What does it mean to you? Does it mean she's now 3 inches taller than she was a few months ago? That would be her growth. Is it a brain tumor that he's examining? How far has it progressed? What is it? It doesn't say. The sentence itself only says the doctor examined little Emma's growth. People who are anxiety prone will see it as a tumor because they're just projecting. It's only a sentence. It's nothing more than that. Non-anxiety people will see it as physical growth. You know, oh, she grew 3 inches, she grew 4 inches, and they don't even think of it as being anything that's threatening. But people who are anxiety prone will always think of it as threatening. And that this is the research. Your perception is everything. Life is as you perceive it. If you perceive a certain thing, then it's true for you. Whether it's true or not almost doesn't count. It's true for you. So you see life through your own perceptions. And if your own perceptions have been tainted by trauma, real trauma, either seeing a bad event or experiencing a bad event, then that's truth for you. And you look at life through your trauma. You look at life through your fear. If you are a fearful person and your reality is tinged by the fear that you are experiencing, then you view life through that fear. You view life through what you're afraid of. If you're not afraid, if you're healthy, things are going well, then you view life through your health. But you view life through whatever your perceptions are, good or bad. And that taints your personality or changes your personality, adds to it, diminishes it, whatever it does. It can change things for you because you're looking at things through something that you don't want to look through, or something that has to do with pain, or something that has to do with trauma. And you see, that all adds to PTSD. Now, here are some statistics. I took this from a USA Today article. It's a little older, but I think still it's probably pretty accurate. 15 to 20% of returning combat veterans have PTSD. And a big part of that are the symptoms of guilt and shame. What are they ashamed of, and what do they feel guilty of? Well, many of them have blame because of unintentionally killing innocent people. Then they think of themselves now as murderers. If they go into an area and they're shooting to kill, the innocent get killed as well as the guilty. And that works on a person, and they feel guilty about that, and they feel ashamed of that. And so part of therapy of people who come back from war is to stabilize them from that guilt. You know, people who have abortions have that same kind of guilt. And they can lead to very serious symptoms. I killed my baby. I aborted my baby. I'm a murderer. I killed him or her. You see, regardless of what the circumstances are. Now, I'm not in favor of abortion at all. So even if a parent is told that the child may be maimed in some way, I do not believe in abortion. But the thing is, most children who are deformed will naturally abort. They don't live to maturity, a 9-month maturity. They abort naturally before that. Now, many soldiers have self-blame because of unintentionally killing innocent people, as I said before, but they will make statements such as, I am bad, I've lost my soul forever, the world is completely dangerous, and they get themselves into a state where they cannot function. Now, PTSD is a very serious illness, but it can be treated, and people can get well from it. So if a person is coming back and they have problems, emotional problems because of what they've seen or what they've done, it's not a hopeless situation. They can get help. Unfortunately, sometimes we make people wait too long before they get help, or they decide not to get help and they decide I can do it on my own. You can't do it on your own. If your brain has been damaged by what you've seen or what you've heard, you need help. You can't get get through it alone. You have to have help to get through that. Religious faith is also a very important thing here because it can help you restore your balance, restore your personhood, restore your value as a human being, because God does not make people and he does not make them unvaluable, if I can use that term. You are a valuable person because you are a created person. You are created by God. You can get help. You must get help, and you can be restored to health again. Now, let's see. Let's go on here. School shootings. I want to mention school shootings. When students go into schools and they shoot other people and other students are hurt, most of them are filled with rage. And the rage that they feel is due to bullying. When a person gets bullied, they have a sense of a less worth. They become devalued. And that's what bullying does. It devalues people, and that's what people who want power devalue other people so they can maintain power. Have you ever wondered why some people want power? And they want to have control over other people. Why would they do that? They themselves don't feel valued, and the only way they can get value for themselves is to become powerful over other people. Then other people have to look to them. And then they can devalue those other people and, in a sense, feel that they're more important because they've been successfully devaluing somebody else. It's a very, very sick system, but this is the way people sometimes treat each other. So there is a cycle. Somebody will be picked on and they will be bullied to the extreme. It doesn't happen after once or twice. It happens after a series of events where they have been bullied. And a lot of the bullying, by the way, is done over the internet. And when the person can't change things, they start to feel helpless. And when they start to feel helpless, that turns to rage. Now, there was a psychologist that we lived years ago and wrote some books, and one of the things, his name was Rollo May. And I like his work, and one of the things he gets into is the fact that people who feel helpless because they can't change a situation that's bad will turn to rage. And when that turns to rage, then they express that rage, usually in a killing way. They will kill somebody, they will hurt somebody, they will maim somebody, all because they have to get that rage out of their system. So you start off, and even with a group of people, and it may not be a bullying situation, even with a group of people may just feel like they're third rate because they're being treated not very well. It may be a cultural thing rather than a single person being bullied. It may be a cultural thing. And what happens in that cultural thing is a group of people are not being treated right. They can't get anyone to listen to them. They can't get anyone to work with them on what their concerns are. Then they start to feel like they are being treated in a way that makes them feel less than. That's the same as being devalued. And then after that, they get into a stage where they feel helpless. We can never change anything. Nothing's ever going to be better. We always have to live like this because we can never change anything. As soon as they start feeling that helpless, then what happens is that helplessness turns to rage, and that rage turns to violence. Now, how does this fit in with PTSD? Well, to begin with, to feel that you're helpless, to feel that you can't do anything, unless you express it in a rageful way. What is PTSD caused by? The rage of people or the bad acts of people against somebody else, because they're not being treated right. It's all interconnected. The violence in this society, which is so severe, is all interconnected. You have people that are seeing bad things, doing bad things, not necessarily because they want to, but because they're in a war situation, or they've had a bad accident, or they've been badly treated, and as a result of that, they get PTSD, and a certain segment of people who have been badly treated will start to feel helpless, and then they'll feel rage. I told the story last segment about my sister. She was nearly broken into by a Vietnam veteran who still thought he was fighting a war. that was PTSD, of course, and the police took him away and he got the proper help. But at the same time, there's violence. There's too much violence in our society. We can't live with this kind of violence, so we have to attend to what's causing it. In some cases, it may be PTSD that a person is expressing in a violent way. They're having